Hey, friends! Barkey J. Dog here, back with another movie review. And this time, it's another Sherlock Holmes movie. That's right, we're talking about The 7% Solution from 1976. The title refers to the dilution of dope Holmes was known to take in the original stories. Now, one of my viewers, Hunter, he kindly sent me this here Blu-ray off of my wish list. Thanks, man. I didn't think I ever screened this one before, but I wanted to. If I ever did, it was years ago and on videotape. So this was a real treat. You guys are great. Our story goes like this. Sherlock Holmes is in trouble. He's been taking too much dope. And now he's a frantic Francis, obsessed with unmasking the Napoleon of crime, Professor Moriarty. But Moriarty seems nothing like a criminal mastermind. Concerned for his old friend, Watson conspires with Sherlock's brother Mycroft to get Holmes to Vienna, where can be found the one man who can save him. None other than Sigmund Freud. As Freud treats a reluctant Holmes, naturally a crime appears, which only Holmes can solve. But Holmes is a basket case. He has to rely on Freud to help him not only save himself, but a kidnapped victim as well. Who's behind it? What's going on? Can the two men plus Watson dope out the motivations of the dope pushers? Or will they just wind up looking dopey? In our cast, we have Nicol Williamson as Sherlock Holmes. He's alright, although I didn't think he really looked the part. Holmes was thin with aquiline features, and Williamson looks more like a guy who should play Watson. But being a fine actor, he carries the part. He did lots of stuff, but you may know him best from his turn as Merlin in Excalibur. Alan Arkin plays Freud, a fine, if not historically accurate, performance. Arkin's Freud is a friendly man, whereas the real Freud, by all accounts, was kind of a cold fish. The real Freud used dope in real life, but he gave it up after he suggested it to a friend to help him kick a morphine habit. That didn't turn out so well for the friend. After that, Freud became an opponent of dope. Venessa Redgrave plays Lola Devereaux. She's quite good in her scenes. Robert Duvall, of all people, plays Watson. And he's alright. He even pulls off the British accent, more or less. And he takes the character of Watson seriously. Sir Laurence Olivier plays Moriarty. Quite a different take on the character. And who else is here? Joel Grey pops up as a henchman pushing dope. He was in lots of things, but I remember him best as Adam, a character who shows up in the very final episode of Dallas, where it's revealed he's really the devil, and he tries to get J.R. Ewing to self-delete, creating the ultimate cliffhanger in a series known for its weekly cliffhangers. Samantha Agar plays Mrs. Watson, Lucky Watson, and we have excellent turns by Jeremy Kemp as the Baron, one of the villains, and Charles Gray as Mycroft Holmes. Both men appeared in the Granada Sherlock Holmes series in the 1980s, the good one. Kemp as Dr. Roylott in The Speckled Band, and Charles Gray reprising his role as Mycroft Holmes in several episodes. Jill Townsend is in this for literally a split second. We've talked about her before. She was in the original version of Poldark and The Awakening, a Charlton Heston spooker I reviewed one year for Halloween. She has nothing to do here, and it made me wonder if her role got cut or something. She doesn't even have a line to speak of, despite being credited as if her part were bigger. Pretty thankless, so it's no wonder she got fed up and quit acting in movies. Finally, we have Georgia Brown as Mrs. Freud. She was in one of the Peter Cushing Sherlock Holmes episodes. He did a Sherlock Holmes TV series too. And Tales That Witness Madness. But you might know her best from her appearance on Star Trek The Next Generation as Helena Rozhenko. That's right, Worf's mom! This is a very unusual Sherlock Holmes story, in that Holmes is not actually in control of his faculties. Instead, his legendary intellect is addled by dope. This is something Watson warned Holmes of in the stories, and it makes for an unusual and intriguing entry into the Sherlock Holmes cinematic world. There are several nods to Holmes's canonical adventures as well. The source material was a book written by Nicholas Meyer. It was a surprise hit, which he wrote during a Hollywood writer's strike as something to do to keep busy. 2 years later, the movie was released, a fairly fast turnaround, even for the time. Also unusual for a writer, he was on set most of the time and worked closely with director Herbert Ross on pretty much all aspects of the movie, both men wanting to get it right. But Meyer, to his credit, was not zealous about the material, actually imploring Ross to cut stuff out so the picture would look more cinematic. Ross wouldn't do it, so Meyer felt the end result was kind of talky, which is true, but not in a bad way. After working on the movie, Nicholas Meyer turned director. His first picture was Time After Time, and then Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, and the TV movie The Day After. He also wrote several other Sherlock Holmes books, all set in his version of the character's universe. Ross worked on several name-brand films, such as Goodbye Mr. Chips, that's a musical version, Pennies from Heaven, Funny Lady with Barbra Streisand, The Goodbye Girl, Footloose, Steel Magnolias, and The Secret of My Success, so you know he knew what he was about. The 7% solution was, unfortunately, not a hit. It kind of flopped. There wasn't much hype for the picture, and it wasn't what people expected. So, in spite of some fine performances and some interesting ideas, it just wasn't the hit that it could have been. Well, this was pretty cool. Okay, sure, it's not Jeremy Brett or Basil Rathbone, it's not Murder by Decree, but it was very interesting and shows a very different side of Holmes, and the effect his use of dope had on him, at a time when that wasn't talked about too much. It's all staged well, and the mystery is all right. Well, some scenes look a bit TV-ish. There are some fine-looking location sequences, and the train chase was pretty exciting. There's one of those. Also, the Lipizan Stallions cameo in this. There are some good performances, and a respect for the source material, that is, the Sherlock Holmes canon by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So, all in all, I'm giving the 7% solution 2 3/4 paws up. Well worth a watch, especially for Sherlockians. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.